Since the fear of harm diagnosis has a biological marker, and if you're not sure what that is, check out our video called A Revolutionary Discovery for details. And since fear of harm has a biological symptom, temperature dysregulation, there's some topics related to distinguishing between misbehavior and symptoms that are unique to fear of harm. We're going to take a look at those now. The first symptom that's often associated with bipolar and other mood disorders, but is almost always associated with children and adolescents with fear of harm, is a complete intolerance of boredom. Some even fly into what their parents call boredom rages when they're not being actively entertained. A literal 15 seconds without some sort of external stimulation can be agonizing, and they become frustrated, angry, and distraught, complaining that there's nothing to do. Children with fear of harm have been known to break their own toys out of frustration that they are no longer interesting, and they beg and demand to be allowed to watch TV or play with tablets and video games all of the time, frequently demanding new games and apps. Parents often have very little patience for this kind of behavior and are inclined to see it as self-destructive and evidence of a lack of imagination or a problematic dependence on devices. This need to be entertained all of the time also makes huge demands on other people in the child's life, such as parents, siblings, and other loved ones, because if there's no device with which to entertain, then the child feels the need to have another person there to interact with and to entertain them all of the time. This becomes exhausting, and over time, parents start to experience the behavior as willful and intentionally disruptive. But this boredom intolerance has a symptomatic cause that is also linked to another difficult behavior, which is the inability to ever be alone, as evidenced in the child's need to have someone in the room the entire time at bedtime until they've fallen asleep. If a person cannot be there, the child may demand an electronic substitute, having some sort of device going with music or a TV show or movie while trying to fall asleep. Parents often view these demands as manipulative or disruptive to household routines and norms, and when parents refuse these demands, the children become angry and aggressive, and things escalate quickly. But in both of these cases, the need for external stimulation and the need to be continuously accompanied stem from the symptom that gives this disorder its name, the fear of harm symptom. One parent described her son's need to have her in his room while he slept as a defensive necessity. He could only let down his defenses, calm his state of high alert and rampant fear, long enough to sleep if he knew that she was there guarding him while he couldn't guard himself. And the external stimulation, the need to fall asleep to the sound of the television, stems from this symptom as well as from the nightmares. Remember that the violent and terrifying images in dreams and nightmares follow these children throughout the day, reappearing in their mind's eye whenever they close their eyes or whenever they are not actively engaged in some sort of activity. The rage against boredom, the inability to close their eyes to fall asleep, the inability to be alone, all stem from the fear that those recurrent images will flood them again and more of the same trauma they originally caused will reappear. Devices, television, movies, video games, and apps fill the mind so that the horrifying dream images can't return and re-traumatize. The distraction supplied by other people and devices ensures that the child feels protected from the demons that haunt them. Over time, you may discover additional behaviors that are specific to your child, which have felt like intentional misbehaviors that are actually symptom-driven. Your developing awareness of the symptoms and their effects will help guide you in your interpretation of behavior. But in the broader process of determining the specific behaviors are being driven by fear of harm symptoms or not, you have a specific and incredibly valuable tool, your first and best tool, in fact. And that will be to figure out if the child is overheating. To figure this out, start with the visible symptoms of overheating that you've previously identified and know are the most common for your child. Is it bright red ears or rosy cheeks? Is there a time of day that you know accumulated heat from throughout the day starts to burst through the dam? Do you know from collecting weather temperature data that when it's below 30 degrees, or if there's more than a 25-degree swing in temperature during the day, there's going to be overheating? Is it that clothes get peeled off as soon as your child gets in the car or back home? Are they sweating when it's a normal room temperature? If the answers to questions like these are yes, then it's more than likely that what you're dealing with are symptoms rather than behavioral choices, and that cooling strategies are more likely to help de-escalate than any other behavioral intervention could. Cooling strategies that we've talked about before include submerging in a tepid pool or bath, reducing clothing and blankets, leaving hands, feet, head, and ears uncovered, adding fans to increase air circulation, using cooling cloths or strips on the forehead, neck, and wrists, drinking ice water regularly. Products that can be used to assist in chronic cooling, which helps to reduce the likelihood of overheating, can be found in athletic clothes designed to wick away moisture and to keep the skin cool, which can help prevent the buildup of new heat throughout the day. A brand that's used by many families is called Arctic Cool. Sleeping with a cooling mattress topper, cooling sheets, and cooling pillows allow heat to dissipate while the child is in bed, making the bed more comfortable and less triggering, because nightmares don't happen as often when cooling toppers, sheets, and pillows are in use. Using personal temperature regulators, which can be super high tech, like the Ember Wave, which uses a wristband to cool the blood as it circulates through the wrist, sending cooler blood back to the core of the body. Or they can also be super low tech, like self-adhesive cooling gel strips that can be worn on any part of the body to serve a similar effect. For more information about temperature dysregulation and products that help manage body temperature changes, please visit the member videos page and view the video in the series called Fear of Harm: An Introduction.